After decades of secrecy, the enigmatic chocolatier Willy Wonka is finally opening the doors of his factory to the public. 5 golden tickets have been hidden inside 5 Wonka bars around the world, and the finders of those tickets will get to tour the factory and go home with a lifetime supply of chocolate. Augustus Gloop, Veruca Salt, Violet Beauregarde, Mike TV, and Charlie Bucket are in for the adventure of a lifetime, again, in the 2005 remake Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
I'm Mysia Pierce-Lewis.
And this is Filmgazm. Welcome to the Filmgazm podcast. Our journey into a world of pure imagination is far from over. This week, we're tackling Tim Burton's adaptation of Roald Dahl's Sweetest story. This back-to-back Wonkamania truly began when Mysia requested an episode on this movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I guess we'll start with my question. What is it about this version of the story that makes it your favorite?
I love all of the songs, first of all. I remember when it came out, that was just the number one thing that stood out to me. The songs were just like really cool for the time. They're really catchy. They're really funky, got you involved. Me and my cousin, when it hit DVD and we would watch it at her house, we would like just solely play the music videos or the music portions of it. And then we make up like choreography to it. It was a whole thing. So she has her favorite. I have mine. My song is Veruca Salt. I love that song. Hers is Mike TV song. And it's very telling of our personalities. But yeah, by far, hands down, the songs. And then I think also the backstory that you get for not only the Oompa Loompas and for Willy Wonka. Because in the Gene Wilder version, you don't really get too much backstories, especially about the Oompa Loompas. They're just like there. They're like, boop. And you're like, who are these little small orange skinned, green haired people? And so though they changed that dynamic in this version of the movie, it was just so cool to see like a background story. And I don't know, it kind of, in this rewatching of it too, I started thinking, I was like, oh, they're like in this like Amazonian style forest. And I was like, isn't that how our chocolate trading is currently in South America and Africa? And I was like, oh, this is a lot deeper than what I thought. So yeah.
Well, there's a reason for that. That's because the original Oompa Loompas in the Roald Dahl book were African pygmies.
Wow. See, I never read the book, and I have feelings now.
Yep. There was the publisher who ultimately said, like, Roald, you gotta change this.
Yeah.
and he was like, oh, fine. And in the movie, it was it was a lot of little people like movements like appealed to the director of the original movie to be like, can you please not do this bad? Like, can you please change this so it's not offending a bunch of people? And that's how we got the orange skin and the green hair. Is like they look like cartoon characters. Now they're not, now they're mythical creatures.
Right. It's not overt blackface.
No, it's orange face. Anybody can do orange face. We had a president who had orange face. God willing, we don't have another one.
Listen.
So, yeah, I think this movie does a better job of grounding Willy Wonka as a person and not as this kind of possible serial killer weirdo. Even though his character in this movie, you could make an argument that like the real Willy Wonka is tied up in a closet somewhere, and this crazy dude.
Oh no!
There's something so uncomfortable about Depp's Wonka that I can't get past.
Yeah,
and that's what does it for me. For me, this is the worst one of the 3 Wonka movies we've gotten.
Not the worst.
I just don't.
I love it because I feel like Gene Wilder's version was like barely functioning alcoholic. He gave me those vibes. Like he's been drinking for some time now, and he's struggling, but he makes it work. This version gave me more like Johnny Depp's Wonka has like DID, like dissociative identity disorder. And so, but like, it makes sense because you're like, look at the trauma you went through. So I get how you switch in and out, like you literally disassociate, you kind of have these different voices and stuff. It made more sense. Gene Wilder's was like, "Oh, you about to be abusive," especially when he started yelling at Charlie's grandfather in that version. His face was beet red. Like, okay, you need anger management. But
I
now we understand more of like why, and he's less, on alcohol and more just mentally fucked up.
I love the idea that like Wilder's Wonka is like like an alcoholic. I never thought of that, but like thinking about it, that
Mm-hmm.
makes so much sense. Like
Yes.
he's just burned out with life.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly hates children, and
He
he
hates his
just.
fucking kids.
I do love that through line hasn't changed in both movies. Like he hates kids, especially these kids, and he's
Yeah.
just done with this shit.
Yeah. But
And
I also noticed that like in this version too, like Johnny Depp's version, he has a disdain for family. And again, we know why because of his own experience with his dad. But like when Charlie's like, "Yeah, thanks for this opportunity, but like I got a family to go to because I miss them, I love them, I don't want to ditch them." And he's like, "Well, why? Like you have this great opportunity, why?" So he not only greatly dislikes the children. I mean, just look at the way he was treating Augustus in the beginning. Um, but he also is like ill family. He
no,
has this aversion to it until kind of the end, kind of. But I
I
noticed
do
that too.
I do think some of that in this movie comes from an unreliable narrator. Like I
Mm,
doubt his dad like literally threw his Halloween candy in the fireplace. Like
yeah,
I think a lot of that is him misremembering a childhood that I mean, any guy who becomes a chocolate maker and has a dentist dad, there's gonna be some kind of pushback there, but I don't think it was that rough. I think Wonka made a lot of this up. I think
yeah,
he imagined a lot of this abuse that might not have happened. It might have just been like, you know, he just resented the headgear.
yeah.
I don't, but we won't ever know that because we don't get Wilbur Wonka's side of things. We just hear the crazy chocolate man's side of things.
That's true. That's true. That's good to consider.
Huh.
Mm.
Okay. I get it. Yeah, you've got some personal connection to the movie. That's why I love the 70s one so much, is because I've got a similar personal connection to that movie.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a question?
I have a couple. Well, not like I'm not saying like I have a plethora of them, but like,
Yeah.
um, I guess the first one that I thought of. So speaking of Gene Wilder, like, how do you think Gene Wilder's Wonka would view Johnny's version? Like, how would they revere each other?
I actually there's recorded evidence of what Gene Wilder thought of this movie. He was interviewed about it, and he didn't care for it. He
Yeah, I could
he
see.
he considers Willy Wonka to be one of his, crowning achievements in his career, and he didn't think this needed to happen, and he thought that the
Mm,
interpretation of Willy Wonka was weird and different and not wholesome like his was. And I'm thinking like, yeah, but also, you were sarcastically attacking these kids the whole time, but
yeah,
wholesome might not be the right word. Uh, but I know that like Depp considered this an honor to play Willy Wonka. It's
yeah.
it's a role that's iconic, and actors want to put their own spin on it. When I get to the list of actors who were considered for this role, it's fucking all over the map.
Wow.
They weren't even looking for like a type. They were just like any actor who can put asses in seats, we're going to talk to.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, Wilder wasn't a fan. But if somebody's gonna remake a movie that is considered like your masterpiece, you're gonna have some bitter feelings towards that.
That's true. And I guess I could see because I mean, Tim Burton's behind this one, so he put his little like weird spin. And with that being said, I kind of see elements of like Jack Skeleton. It's like it's giving Jack Skeleton meets Captain Jack Sparrow. And it creates this Wonka character that we have. Like kooky, weird, like are you high, drunk? Do you have some mental issues? But then also like creepy, but like in a sincere way. I know that sounds so odd to say because Jack Skeleton was very much like he was. I mean, he is a skeleton. You know what I mean? And he wanted to just recreate Christmas, but he did it in such a way that was actually terrifying to people. But he was so unaware of it, and so I can see those elements all mixing in to create Johnny Depp's Wonka. Um, I don't know. I liked it. I liked how weird it was. I don't know. Maybe I love Tim Burton stuff. I love the kind of creepy side to it that has you wondering, guessing. It's just it's something alluring about it. I don't know. I also watch a lot of true crime, so I don't know what that says about me. So
In the interest of Tim Burton, I went ahead and finished off the films of his that I had not yet seen, just for kicks,
Mhm.
in case that came up. And I ended up watching Big Fish, which I enjoyed.
I love that one.
Uh, and then that was it. Big Fish was the last one I hadn't seen, but there were some others I hadn't seen in a long time that I decided to
Mhm.
rewatch. One of which was Planet of the Apes, 2001,
Mhm.
and I came to the realization that that is essentially a feature long or feature length version of the SNL sketch Mark Wahlberg Talks to Animals, which is hilarious to think about, but it's a terrible movie.
Yeah.
I followed that with the Alice in Wonderland remake, which I
Mm.
also really didn't like. Uh,
Oh.
so I was gonna watch Dark Shadows after that, but at that point I was like, I'm done watching bad Tim Burton movies. I can't do this for a fourth time. So I
Yeah.
just didn't watch Dark Shadows. But somewhere along the line, Tim Burton kind of became the go-to guy for half-assed remakes, and I don't know why that happened. Like when you look at his original output, he's one of the most creative directors we've ever had.
Yeah.
I want that back. I know he's still in there. The guy who gave
Mhm.
us Beetlejuice and Ed Wood and Corpse Bride and Sweeney Todd. Like, where is he?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to watch fucking Dumbo or Dark Shadows, Alice in Wonderland, all these movies he just keeps. He just signed on to do Attack of the 50-Foot Woman remake of a 50s movie. So he's still doing it.
Still doing this remake.
Yeah. It's so
Dark
weird.
Shadows is the vampire one, right? I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. Okay. I think I remember it.
I saw it at the movies and I was like, this is terrible. And then I just never watched it again. So it's been 12
Oh,
years.
I remember it. Mhm.
But like, Beetlejuice and Mars Attacks are two of my all-time favorite, like
Yes.
sacred movies. So like
Yes.
I have a lot of love for this guy, but I also am like, dude, why? Come on, stop. You can't need the money that bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I never even thought of considered that like half-ass remakes because with the Alice in Wonderland again, I haven't seen that in so long.
Yeah.
But I remember when it came out. I can't remember if I saw it in theaters, but I know I eventually had it on some form of DVD or something. Um, I don't know. Again, I liked it. I think I maybe not the storyline. Maybe I wasn't paying attention enough to it. Um, but I think just how he does sets up everything, his vision for it, how he manifests it in his films. I love that stuff because it's weird. There's a dark element to it, but it's very like fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something magical about it that I enjoy. And maybe it's more of like a set and design production thing as opposed to like the script. Oops.
Well, admittedly, Alice in Wonderland grossed over 1 billion worldwide, so maybe that's not the best example.
Yeah.
I just prefer with his work, I prefer his original output because they're always so much
Mhm.
better. They're always so unique and exciting and memorable, as
Yeah,
opposed to just slapping your name on the remake of whatever is coming out next.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel the same way about every director. Like, when Steven Spielberg did War of the Worlds, I was like, this is terrible. Like, why is he doing
It
this?
was so bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I don't trust Tom Cruise to save me. No. He's part of Scientology. No.
I don't know. I mean, if aliens ever invaded Earth and like tried to steal our souls, I'm the first place I'm going to is the Church of Scientology because that means they got it right.
Well, I guess so. I
I
just see
gotta
him jumping on Oprah's couch. I'm like, that man is not protecting anybody.
I gotta go clear before the Thetans get me.
Yeah. Mm.
One day we're gonna do like a Tom Cruise like movie on this podcast. I don't think we ever have because we've never actually properly dug into all that crazy shit. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen one day. We do Mission Impossible or fucking Cocktail or whatever. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. You said you had a couple questions?
Yeah, one more. So, well, I mean, I guess we already talked about it. I was just wondering if you thought like what elements do you think comprises Johnny Depp's version of Wonka? Like what
Uh,
makes him who he is?
well, I know that they've he and Burton have refuted the fact that he's based on Michael Jackson. I call bullshit on that.
I can see it
They don't
with
want
the
to admit
Jersey
it.
girl.
Yeah, the voice, the weird attitude towards children, I can totally see them
Oh
pulling
no.
a little Michael Jackson into this performance.
That's
Uh,
so sad.
in terms of like what they actually said the role was based on, I do have that in my production info, so I'll hold off on that for now. But personally, it's too it's too close. It's too close to. I mean, I half expected a fucking monkey to come out and just like perch on Wonka's shoulder.
That's so bad. Dang.
Uh, okay, let's get into it proper. Uh,
Mhm.
as I said last week, same source material. Film began life as the novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by
Mhm.
Roald Dahl, published in 1964. But before we get into the production history, I do want to talk a little bit about Roald Dahl's lesser known sequel, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, which was published in 1972, 8 years after the first book. I decided to read this on my own to prep for this episode because I read it in middle school, but I did not remember it at all. And I can't believe I forgot because this is one of the weirdest, most awkward, racist, nonsensical books I've ever read in my life. Uh, Roald Dahl, not fond of Asians. Is
Well,
that's the lesson I took from this book.
an old British man born in the 19 teens, so
I know, but like you hope these people, because they were artists, were a little more enlightened in society. Most of the time, they're not.
no, not at all.
Uh, just to clarify, the bits I'm talking about here, there's a bit in the book involving the premier of China, who is named in the book How You Been. So
Mm.
right there. And his assistant premier, Chew on Dat,
Oh my God.
and the way they talk is the R and the L get swapped out as per like the racist, typical mocking Chinese accent, and that's just wonderful to read.
Oh
Uh,
no.
Basically, the premise of this book it picks up right after Charlie has won the chocolate factory, and they blast out of the factory in the
Mhm.
Great Glass Elevator and go pick up the family, and
Mhm.
they all end up in the elevator. The grandparents, the parents, everybody somehow. It's a big elevator, and they end up in space in this book, where they run into the space hotel, which has been launched into space to for rich people, and it's about to like open. And there's concierges and maids and cooks and all on this giant space station. And the president has, they have cameras like filming the space thing in space, and the president of the United States is this weird little man child with his vice president is his nanny. So I don't think Roald
Wow.
Dahl was very fond of Americans either.
Understandable.
And he thinks that the Great Glass Elevator is aliens, and they're going to shoot down Wonka. And Wonka makes no effort to tell them they're not aliens because he's having too much fun screwing with everybody.
Wow.
They land on the space hotel. He says a bunch of wacky nonsense, and they assume that he's from Mars.
Oh
And
my
then real aliens show up in the form of the Vermicious Knids, which get a mention in the first movie.
God. Mhm.
And they're these like meatball looking giant space aliens that consume everything they touch, and they're going to invade Earth. And again, this is based on this is a sequel to the Chocolate Factory book.
Wow.
It's so crazy. And all that shit happens, and that's the first half of the book. The second half of the book involves the grandparents going to the factory. They crash land back at the factory, and the
Mhm.
grandparents take this stuff called Wonkavite, which like turns them young. And Grandma Georgina takes too much of it and disappears. And now she's in Minus Land, which is where people go if you de-age too quickly, which is basically like fucking purgatory. So Wonka, which is a room in the factory, apparently,
Oh my
Wonka
God.
goes to Minus Land with Charlie, and they get Georgina's ghost. And I'm gonna stop now because this is fucking crazy. But
This is all euphemism for drugs.
it's
Like,
it's got to
there's
be.
no way.
I have no idea where any of this came from, and it doesn't flow well at all. It's only 159 pages.
And all that is crammed into that? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's big font. It's a quick read, but it's terrible. And I
Jeez.
recommend not reading it. I kind of want somebody to make a movie out of it just to see what this ends up being. like Timothy Chalamet in space and shit. I don't know. I guess it'd be
Yeah.
kind of like Dune, but yeah. I started reading it and I was reading and I'm like, I need to talk about this because this is fucking crazy. I've never heard anybody talk about Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Uh,
No.
yeah. So that was worth it. What a
Wow. And it's
dumbass
funny because
book.
when you mentioned the meatball things,
Hmm?
I thought of like, I don't know why, but the image that popped up in my mind was that meatball from the Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah.
So I just saw like a whole bunch of those bouncing around.
Yeah, kind of. Here, I know you can't see it on if you're listening to this, but here there's illustrations in here, and I'm gonna show you. Like, look, this is what that's the Vermicious Canid.
Oh, it does look like that. It looks like a little like a teardrop shaped nugget.
Yeah, and they can
Wow.
stretch into snakes and stuff. And I, there's no
Wow.
chocolate in this book at all. It's
I was gonna say, how do we get from Chocolate Factory to space meatballs and destruction and Chinese emperors? Like, I'm so confused. Like,
yeah,
it's so left.
it is so just. And anytime someone tries to ask, like, well, what's going on? Wonka just says some wacky shit, and he ignores them.
Wow, that is insane.
Yeah. So if you guys want, seek out Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. It's a tough read because it's just bad. Um, but if you're a Roald Dahl completionist, you're gonna have to.
Wow.
Yeah. So moving on. My, my sources for today's episode are featurettes from the Blu-ray bonus features of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, as well as IMDb trivia with a little bit from Wikipedia to double check names and dates. So that's what we're
Mhm,
working with today.
mhm,
Apparently, Roald Dahl was not a fan of the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, despite writing the screenplay himself and director Mel Stewart having nothing but positive things to say about him in the production history book I used for last week's episode. So somewhere along the line, Roald Dahl just decided to be bitter about this movie. He was like, it's not what I wanted. That's great. Even though he wrote it and had final say over the screenplay. Like, he
mhm.
had so many opportunities to say something and he just didn't.
Sound like a personal problem.
Yeah. Uh, so since Willy Wonka had grown into quite the family hit over the decades, when it came out in 1971, it was financed by the Quaker Oats Company and barely made its money back. But
Wow.
now, by the time the 90s rolled around, this thing had been seen on TV a lot. People loved it.
Mhm,
It became a cult hit. So Warner
mhm,
Brothers entered into a deal with the Dahl estate to buy the rights and develop a remake. And the deal was finalized in 1998 with the Dahl estate having full creative control over casting, writing, and directing. Nothing happened without their approval,
mhm,
which is a hell of a deal to get. A lot of artists
mhm.
do not get that deal.
Yeah.
At the time, the Dahl estate's shortlist for directors of the remake included Ang Lee, Spike Jonze, Anthony Minghella, and Terry Gilliam. Uh, Spike Jonze and Terry Gilliam, I think, would have done a really cool job with
Mhm,
this story, especially Gilliam. He's known for his weird ass world, Brazil, Time Bandits, Baron Munchausen, all the Monty Python movies. He,
mhm.
yeah, he would have that would have been interesting. Um, Nicolas Cage had expressed interest in playing Wonka, but nothing
No,
came of it.
no. That would have been awful.
A 90s Wonka starring Nicolas Cage, directed by Terry Gilliam, I would trade this for that in a heartbeat. I want to see that.
What? Not Nicolas Cage.
I mean, just think of the boat scene in the original where Wonka's losing his mind. Picture Nicolas Cage doing that shit.
But I can only, listen, I can only see him saving the Declaration of Independence.
Oh,
That's all I can see him doing. I'm sorry.
I love National Treasure, but he is so much more than that.
I know, but it's like it's that really just freeze framed him and his career for me. I don't know.
Ah, I'm gonna suggest some stuff later.
Okay.
Uh, so in the late 90s, they started just kind of tossing names around. They weren't ready to start anything yet, but more names kept coming up for the project, including Martin Scorsese to direct. I,
Oh God.
yeah, that would have been interesting. I
Yeah.
couldn't see that, but then like you look at a movie like Hugo, kid adventure that he did, I think he could have pulled off an interesting Wonka.
Yeah.
Uh, Jim Carrey was also one of the big contenders to play Willy Wonka, but
Okay.
he and Scorsese, neither name made it farther than brief consideration. But 90s Jim Carrey, excellent choice for Willy.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, that would have
Because
been.
around that time, right? It's like mask-ish time because it's what late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
So
Yeah.
like Truman Show, Man on the Moon, Grinch, Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, so the more names were tossed about, the more the Dahl estate was like, I don't know. But Warner Brothers wasn't giving up. And in
Hmm.
2003, the Dahl estate approved of a director, Tim Burton, who had previously produced another Dahl adaptation in 1996 with James and the Giant Peach.
I loved that one.
I've never seen it. I've only seen the
So
when I was a
weird.
kid, I had a VHS of Muppet Treasure Island, and
Oh my
there was a preview of James and the Giant Peach. Before that, I have the preview memorized because I watched that movie so many times. So I want to watch James and the Giant Peach. I just haven't gotten around to it since I was a kid.
It's amazing.
It looks weird and
It
crazy,
is.
very Burton-y. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to watch that.
And it's creepy. It's like some of the characters will put you in the mindset of Nightmare Before Christmas for
Nice.
sure. Hmm.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Uh Burton's plan was to stick as closely to the book as possible. He was a fan. He had an interesting relationship with Dahl's work. I mean, you can kind of tell they have the same vibe of like bizarre, unique world and children in danger. Uh, so he wanted to do the book right. And in a featurette on the Blu-ray, Burton describes his relationship to the work, stating, quote, "As a child, Dahl was the author who I connected to the most. He got the idea of writing a mixture of light and darkness and not speaking down to kids and the kind of politically incorrect humor that kids get. I've always liked that, and it shaped everything I felt that I've done." So, damn. Seems like
Yep.
Tim Burton was destined to make this movie.
Hmm.
Now, is this the only? I think this is the only Roald Dahl adaptation he's ever done.
I think so.
Yeah, which is interesting because you think that he would have pursued more, like the witches or the
Yeah.
BFG or no.
Talking about weird. The BFG was weird. That whole
I
CGI giant.
I haven't seen that because I can't get past the title. I don't think Big Friendly Giant. I'm a Doom fan, so I hear big fucking gun when I hear BFG.
Oh my God. This is for children, sir.
I'll watch it eventually. It's one of the few Spielberg movies I haven't seen.
Hmm.
Uh, when Burton went to meet with Dahl's widow, Felicity, who controlled the estate, her nickname's Lissy, which actually, if you ever see Matilda,
Hmm.
the doll that Miss Honey like lost to Trunchbull, the name of the doll is Lissy Doll.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Matilda's also a Roald Dahl story. Audience, uh,
Hmm.
very very good movie.
Yeah, I loved it. Classic.
Um, so Lissy showed him around the estate, showed him Dahl's writing shed. I guess he would write in this like little shed, get away from distractions and just write. And Burton exclaimed, "This is the Bucket's house." And Lissy responded, "Thank God somebody gets it."
Mm-hmm.
So they just connected. They were like, yeah, Lissy was like, "Yep, you're the guy. You understand what this is all about."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, she showed him some of Dahl's original manuscripts, which were far darker, way offensive, not really kids' books at all. I couldn't believe this. One of the original manuscripts for Wonka had a child character literally named Herpes.
No. Why did
Yep.
they think that was okay?
Because Roald Dahl did what he wanted. And I guess he
No.
wrote his book, he sent it to the editor, and the editor was like, "Trim this down. This is for children." I want to know how the character of Herpes factored into this book. I want to know that.
Yeah. Wow. That's out of line.
Oh boy. Burton hired John August to write a screenplay from scratch. He had just worked with Burton on Big Fish, so they had a working relationship. Uh, August wrote the script in 3.5 weeks. It blows my fucking mind how quickly these guys crank out a screenplay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been working on my fourth novel for like a year and a half now. I'm 65 pages deep. And I can't imagine like just, finishing this up by March. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But I guess if like this is all I was doing and I was getting paid for it, I guess there's different incentive there.
That's true. But still, I mean, that's a lot of energy and creative like license in your brain that you have to crank out so fast.
It's true. And remember, a lot of these guys take on multiple projects. So like,
Yeah.
you got
So
one,
what else are you guys doing?
yeah, got to deal with Warner Brothers, got to deal with Universal, got one to,
Mhm.
do with Disney at the end of the month. Like, so you're
Mhm.
juggling a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh, August included many elements that had been cut from the original film due to budget restraints. Veruca getting attacked by the squirrels, the story about the chocolate palace, all that was in the book, but they couldn't afford to do that in the 70s movie, so they just gave us,
Mhm.
fizzy lifting drinks and golden geese, which is fine. But now you can have a small girl getting brutally attacked by a swarm of squirrels, and that's just great.
It's my favorite one.
Well, she had it coming. Boy, did she
Yeah.
have Burton and August included some new elements in their version, such as Willy Wonka's relationship with his father and Grandpa
Mhm.
Joe's own history working with Wonka. Those
Mhm.
elements aren't in the book. They added those into the movie to pad it out and give us a little bit more uh, grounding of the characters,
Mhm.
which I think worked, especially Grandpa Joe's history with Wonka. I thought that was a smart thing to add in. I do find it funny that he only brings that up later to Charlie after he's been building this scale model of Wonka's chocolate factory for God knows how long. Now, Grandpa Joe's going to be like, oh, hey, I used to work for that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's true. I think like the grounding of that backstory, I think it adds more buy-in from the audience. You know what I mean? There's more of a relationship because I think the reason why I felt a little disconnected from the 70s version is because you don't know what the hell is wrong with that Wonka. Like you're like Gene Wilder, what happened to you? Like who did this to you to make you this way? Like put down the whiskey, it's okay. We can go sober. You know what I mean? Like that's that's the vibes that I got. And so it creates this like I know it's gonna sound weird, but to a degree, it's even more scary to have such a like a mystery around his backstory, but to see him behave in such an erratic way
Yeah.
because you're like, what why? And where is this coming from? And how is he gonna act next? Kind of thing. Whereas like with this one, with Johnny Depp's one, you understand, oh, he had whatever experience. And maybe the narrator is unreliable, but at least there's something there. There's a grounding basis for why he may behave the way that he does. And he has reasons as to why he has certain things in the chocolate factory set up the way that he does.
Mhm.
You know, it makes a little bit more sense. And so you can there's more relatability.
Well, I
I don't
think that I think Colton pointed this out to me. Despite the film's titles,
know. Mhm.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is much more about Charlie, and
Yeah,
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is much more about Wonka.
that's very true. Yes.
So I get that, Wonka's not, you're seeing things unfold through Charlie's eyes in the original
Right.
movie, and he doesn't know anything about Willy Wonka.
That's fair.
So I think giving us this air of mystery, and also, Gene Wilder wanted the audience to never know if Wonka was lying or telling the truth about anything. He wanted the audience to be kind of afraid and trustworthy of Wonka at the same time. And he pulled that off, I think, because I'd get on the boat, but I also would be like, you know, screaming when he does that weird soliloquy.
Oh, see, no, I don't trust liars. You hiding from me? Mm-mm. You know what I mean? Like, because at least with Johnny Depp's Wonka, like they were still creeped out. Like all those kids and the parents were like, "What is happening?" But he would have these moments where he would, I don't know, where the narrator is telling us what he's going through, where his mind is. I'm assuming that maybe some of that story is being said aloud, and there are some elements within the movie where he's verbally telling the kids some of this stuff.
No,
That makes me feel more at ease. Like, you still crazy and I still don't know what you're gonna do, but at least now I understand. So if I have to get myself out of a sticky situation, I know how to handle myself. You know what I mean? Like, I know what will work your heartstrings.
I think a lot of it also comes from the fact that, like, if I was in Wonka's chocolate factory, I wouldn't be the dumbass falling in the chocolate river or trying
That's
an experimental gum or trying to take home a squirrel or jumping into a television portal.
you
So
know,
I wouldn't, I'd feel perfectly at ease with Wonka because I'm not going to be the kid who pisses him off,
that's totally fair. Yeah.
especially Mike TV. How the hell did he think that was going to end up well?
I
Like,
don't know.
yeah.
That was really dumb.
And also in all four situations, The parents don't even try to help them, not once.
I noticed that. I noticed when Veruca Salt actually got pushed down the little hole,
Yeah.
her dad was like, "Oh my god, Veruca." He did not move, not one. He didn't jump over that gate. He could have totally did that several times. That man was towering over everybody.
When she is literally being swarmed by squirrels, he's just like, oh, just standing there shocked on a like in front of a 2 foot tall gate. Like, dude, walk over that and help your daughter. But also, if my daughter was Veruca Salt, I would also just kind of wait to see how things played out.
And I think that's where he was heading for it.
It's not murder if you're, watching.
Wow.
Not on my hands.
But except when he found out there was an incinerator, a possible incinerator down there, I think that's when he was like, "Oh snap, she might actually die. Like maybe I should do something." Like his face changed a little bit. There was a little bit more emotion.
I think the most guilty parent is Augustus Gloop's mom, because that was an easy fix. My kid can't swim and he's in chocolate. Jump in there and save your kid.
Do you think does she look like she can swim? Listen, she's looking like Mrs. Puff. She cannot. What could she have done?
Admittedly, can anybody swim through molten chocolate?
That's fair, but definitely not her.
Still, she could have tried. It was her kid was gonna drown in chocolate.
She could have walked around to the other side of the thing. That's true. The other side of the little island, and she didn't even do that. That's fair.
Yeah. Mike TV's dad could have, broken the glass, or while that platform was slowly rising, ran over there and grabbed his kid.
I think he actually hated his child too.
They all did, except for Violet's mom. For Violet's mom, that was like her meal ticket.
Yeah, she was living vicariously through her. But I
her
mean,
one-
that still warrants hatred, though.
Her one warning, her one thing was like, how is she supposed to compete? That's what she was worried about.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, it's funny to just watch. You don't see a lot of movies where parents like hate their children. So casting Willy Wonka. This proved interesting. Willy Wonka had been made famous by Gene Wilder. It was a coveted role. A lot of people wanted this. A lot of people were considered for this. I mean, everyone kind of knew Tim Burton was going to go with Depp. He's his go-to guy, has been for quite some time at this point. So there weren't a lot of surprises there. But if Depp had said no, some of the other some of the other considerations by the studio were Bill Murray, Christopher Walken.
Ooh.
It's chocolate. Yeah, I would have killed to see that. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Greatest movie on earth. Greatest movie on earth. Steve Martin. I don't know. I think he could have pulled it off. Robin Williams.
Oh.
Yeah, you think Gene Wilder was a weird, hard to pin down Wonka? Robin Williams would have been manic on a level I don't think we can comprehend.
That's true.
Nicolas Cage again. Jim Carrey again.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton.
Oh.
That would have been cool. I can see that.
Hmm.
Robert De Niro.
Okay.
I
So
love De Niro, but Willy Wonka, no way.
No.
Brad Pitt. Hot Wonka.
Ew, no. He wouldn't have done that.
Will Smith.
Hell no.
Pre-slap, before everyone hated him, Will Smith.
Still hell no. No.
Mike Myers. Yeah.
You got me with Christopher Walken. Listen.
I am of these, I'm like, yeah, Walken would have been my choice.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller.
No, it would give too much Zoolander.
There's got to be more to life than making ridiculously good-looking chocolate.
Yeah, I know.
Leslie Nielsen.
Oh.
Then it would have just kind of felt like a parody of Willy Wonka if it's Leslie Nielsen. John Cleese, Eric Idle, and Michael Palin from Monty Python. All three of them were considered. John Cleese, I think, would have been fantastic as Willy Wonka.
Yeah. A lot
Patrick
of
Stewart.
names. Jeez, how long?
Patrick Stewart.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
see that either. Uh,
They were really shooting in the dark with these, huh?
when it comes to casting, it's literally like throwing every dart you've got at the wall, hoping some stick to the dartboard. It really is just like who can we get and who can we afford.
Yeah.
So in a perfect situation, those two things line up, but that does not always happen.
Hmm.
Uh, Adam Sandler was the last name.
No.
Sandman as Willy Wonka.
No.
Uh, Dustin Hoffman wanted it, but he was not considered. I guess
Mm.
he's too short and too expensive. And Marilyn Manson really wanted.
No.
He's a huge Willy Wonka fan. He really wanted this, but they were like, absolutely not. Yeah,
No.
we're not trying to scare the shit out of people with this. We don't. No. Uh-uh.
Yeah. It's still child friendly.
Yeah. If I was, escorting my child through a chocolate factory and we get there and the dude leading the factory looks like Marilyn Manson, we're going home.
How about we're not even getting to the chocolate factory after I've seen the advertisements.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Um, I found this amazing. If Depp had said no or was not available, Tim Burton's second choice, amazingly, was Dwayne Johnson. Yeah.
What?
The Rock was Burton's second choice to play Willy Wonka if Depp had said no.
I am so confused. How did we go from the list you provided to The Rock?
I have
What?
no fucking idea. He won't.
What?
I couldn't find any reason behind this or like where this came from. I don't know. And at the
What?
time, he'd only done like The Mummy Returns and Doom. Like he wasn't a big name yet. I mean, in the wrestling world, he was, but not as an actor. So maybe he was cheaper at the time.
Connor, pull up a picture of that man and tell me how he would look with a purple top hat. That is insanity.
You know what? I think quite dashing. He's a handsome man.
That's not the purpose
I
or
want to
the
see the
point.
I want to see the Rock with like or Willy Wonka with like 12-inch biceps. I want to see that. I want to see a buff
That's like for a scary
Wonka,
movie adaptation.
like a Willy Wonka who could bench press the fucking boat. Like I want to see that.
No, that's for like a scary movie thing. Let him do that in scary movie. Like whatever. Is 11 right? There's so many now.
If I just like if Johnny Depp had like had a scheduling conflict or he was like I don't really want this,
A
this
Rock?
movie would have starred The Rock. That was a very real. This was not like if he's available, some executive said it like 13th name on the list. This was second choice.
Oh my God.
That's nuts.
That
Yeah.
is so confusing. Okay, well, okay.
According to Depp, in the featurette that I watched, he modeled his version of Wonka after children's show hosts like Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Rogers. He saw Wonka as someone who puts on a face for kids but is hiding a lot of personal trauma. Like this childlike thing is like just him trying to relate to kids in a way he thinks he knows, but he's not very good at it.
And he thought that was present in The Rock.
I,
From
I,
Mr. Rogers to Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
well, this is how Depp prepared for the role. I don't know what The Rock would have done for Wonka.
You're right.
Maybe
Okay.
Willy Wonka, had a sports medicine degree in college and like pursued chocolate as his dream, but like high protein chocolate.
You're right.
I,
He was doing CrossFit on the side.
yeah. Instead of a chocolate factory, it's like a protein powder factory. Like he's doing, supplements.
God. Mm.
I'm picturing like, are the Oompa Loompas like super cut too? Is he just running this like,
It will have to be.
yeah, to keep up with that guy? I thought this was weird. Depp based Wonka's distinct voice on how he imagined President George W. Bush would sound while completely stoned.
Okay.
A
Again,
lot of very weird decisions were made
yes.
by everyone involved in this movie.
Like, what is everyone was high, especially with this.
They
There's
had
no
to.
way. Okay.
I love that. That's bonkers to me. It's like I'm picturing like Depp and Burton discussing the role, and Depp's just like, "Hey, I had a couple of ideas about the voice. What do you think of this?" And he like did the squeaky thing, and Burton's like, "What the hell was that?" And he's like, it's President Bush, after smoking a bowl." And Burton's like, "You know what? That's Wonka. That's what
Mm.
we're gonna do."
Wow.
God. You know what's very weird? I've seen some videos where like Depp will run into fans and they'll like ask him to do the Wonka voice and he'll do it, but like as regular Johnny Depp, and it's fucking weird.
Yeah, I was watching him do an interview where he was kind of going in and out of the voice. And it is odd to see him like his soft tousled hair, his shirt open and stuff, with his glasses on and all his rings, and he's doing this weird pedophile voice. It's weird.
Pedophile voice. Oh boy. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I can see this voice saying like, we were just playing, officer. Like I can see that.
There's candy in my van. Like,
Oh, come with me, kids. We're going to a chocolate factory. Yeah, okay, sure. Can I see some
oh,
ID?
right.
Chocolate factory, my ass. Um, so Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was a pretty decent hit, grossed 475 million on a giant $150 million budget. To put that
Wow.
in perspective, the original Wonka had a $4 million budget provided by a company that makes oatmeal. So things change. Uh,
Inflation.
Inflation. This was the eighth highest grossing film of 2005.
Wow.
Yeah. 475 mil used to make, used to land you in the top 10. Now you don't even make the top 50.
That's crazy.
It was nominated for a single Oscar at the 78th Academy Awards for Best Costume Design, which it
Hmm.
lost to Memoirs of a Geisha.
Oh,
And weirdly, the first Wonka was also nominated for only one Oscar. And would have been cool if the 2023 one was nominated for one Oscar, but it got nothing.
wow.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
With a beat red face.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory has an IMDb score of 6.7, Rotten Tomatoes score of 83%, audience score of 51%.
What?
Yeah, critics liked it. Fans really didn't. The original Wonka has loyalty, like a lot of loyal fans on that movie.
I
Uh,
guess.
Critics' consensus reads closer to the source material than 1971's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is for people who like their chocolate visually appealing and dark.
Yes.
I think the original's darker than this one.
No, the
There is a
original one is.
there is a legit full horror sequence in the original Willy Wonka.
Oh, well. I don't know. It felt because I remember like it used to come on TV every holiday, just about, especially like Easter, Christmas time. And it just felt slow. And so it was that movie. It did. There were some parts that felt like really slow, and I was like, okay, let's speed it up. I want to see the kids get hurt. Like,
I
like
I love the bits about like the world reacting to the chocolate factory or to the golden ticket thing. I love seeing like the people, like the guy who makes the machine to tell, like the guy who makes artificial intelligence to tell him where it is, and the machine's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. That's cheating.
yeah,
I love that stuff. The
yeah.
guy the husband who's kidnapped and they want the Wonka bars, and the wife's like, well, I don't know. Can I think about it? Like I love the world building of that. I also love that in the original, it's never implicitly stated that the kids survived all that.
That's true. Yeah.
We don't see them again after their accidents. At least in this one, they walk out okay? Question mark.
Yeah. Because Mike is all stretched out.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they also didn't sign the contract in this one, so there's going to be a lot of lawsuits about to hit Wonka.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of personal injury claims, a lot of punitive damages, a lot of
Yeah.
emotional. Yeah, they're going to own, especially Mr. Salt. Like Wonka's Chocolate Factory is about to be a subsidiary of Salt Industries.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think his lesson was I need to get my daughter in line. I think he was more pissed off at Veruca than anything. So,
Yeah, their dynamic's going to change, but like
mhm.
a gloop's made of chocolate now, apparently.
Yeah.
Uh, Violet's blue and stretchy, and
Mhm.
Mike TV is Slender Man. So,
Not
things
Slender
didn't
Man.
work out for, I mean, Veruca's covered in garbage. She's going to be fine. Everyone
Yeah,
else is irreparably physically destroyed.
that's true.
Uh, but
Mm,
the parents got to, can you imagine having to go home? Like, they got to go home to their significant others and tell them how their day went. Like, Mr.
yeah.
TV's got to go home to the family and be like, well, something happened at the chocolate factory. Mike is now 8 feet tall, and don't mention it.
You're right. Well, at least that saves Mr. Salt because he would have had to tell his wife, like, listen, she got burnt up in the incinerator. We
I
gotta make another.
They would have celebrated. They would have been like, we're free,
Probably.
and sold all of her shit, made back another couple $1 million, and yeah, probably had another baby and tried a little harder to parent this one.
I don't know about that try harder part.
I mean, after dealing with Veruca, if I had been if I'd been the parent whose actions resulted in that monstrosity, and I had an
Right.
opportunity to try again, I'd try a little harder.
Yeah. Well, you would hope that he had a change of heart, but I feel like it's very telling of them as parents.
I feel like
Like, they just did
that look he gives her at the end where she's like, "But I want it." And he's like,
that.
gives her that like, "I'm gonna backhand you" look. Yeah, things are changing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, let's take a look at the movie. Give some, or look at the categories, different stuff we liked about it. We've got best scene, best performance, best music moment, and best line. Where do you want to start?
It's so hard. Okay, let's start with song.
Okay.
So best song, I love the Veruca Salt song. I know it by heart. So when it came on, I was singing every single word, and I love it. I love how, like, demented it is because you like, she just fell down the chute, you don't know where it's going, you don't know if she's getting burnt up as we speak, but the Oompa Loompas start coming on, it's like this harmony, this angelic harmonious kind of song that they're
Yeah.
serenading everybody with, and it's just, like, it's beautiful. But you don't know if she dead or not, but it's gorgeous because, like, she's a piece of shit, and she's where she's supposed to be, and everyone's rejoicing, and I love it. It's beautiful. It's a masterpiece. Mwah.
Yeah, that's a good scene. I do, yeah,
Mhm.
I do like it's almost like a feels like a Beach Boys song. It's
Yeah.
weird. All these songs, by the way, are the original songs from the book that were then like modified to fit a movie. But like these are all the songs that Roald Dahl wrote in the book,
Wow.
which I am impressed with that. I
Mhm.
still prefer the original. Oompa Loompa. I prefer that because
Mhm.
that was kind of creepy.
It
Uh,
was. It's ominous.
I I went with the Mike TV song. I do like that one because
Mhm.
all the Oompa Loompas have this vibe of like, are you kidding me? Again? A fourth
Yeah.
time? Like still? Like there's this kind of like you had this coming kind of vibe
Mhm.
to it, which I like. And I like, flipping through the channels and the different kinds of the Psycho reference and the rock
Yeah.
song and all that. I thought that was cool.
Mhm.
I love Danny Elfman's score. I love the opening credits. I think it
Mm.
sets a good tone for what this is going to be.
Mhm.
Danny Elfman and Tim Burton have one of the best working relationships in Hollywood ever. The stuff
Mhm.
the work Elfman's put out for Burton has been just incredible for a
Mhm.
long time. Even when the movie might not be up to par, Elfman is always up to par.
Mhm.
Um, I also really like the scene where the boat arrives and the music's
Yeah.
kind of like almost like from Ben-Hur or something.
Mhm.
And it has this vibe of like, if odds are if you're watching this, or at least if you saw this in theaters in '05, you'd seen the original movie or you had, your parents had or something.
Mhm.
And it's almost like a nod to like, hey, remember the boat? Remember
Yeah.
this? Huh? Are we gonna do it again? You don't
Right.
know.
It's back.
Like I like that Elfman kind of gave you a little tease of like, you don't know there's no knowing where we're going.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mhm.
Any other music you want to shout?
Um, I don't know. I mean, like, I like the Violet. First of all, the first three, right? The first three songs I really
Mhm.
like. I mean, I like the Mike TV one, of course, but Augustus Gloop, so
I
Greedy, Vile, and Infantile. I
I
love it.
love I love that I love that song specifically because all the other three songs are like, you got to be careful about how you live your life, and this is what happens. But that song is just, look how fat this kid is. Like they just keep going after Gloop for just being a fat useless member of society, and I
Yeah,
do love
just
that.
gluttonous. Yeah.
Yeah, just like
But
you
that was
bring.
like,
Yeah,
and I think that song set the tone for the rest of the songs to come because it was like something happened to this kid, obviously. Is this child all right? And then everyone's just like, fanfare. Well, let's just celebrate. And then that's when Charlie's like, hey, how does he know? How did the Oompa Loompas know dude's name? And how were they able to put it into a choreographed song so quickly? Like, what's happening here?
I love
The
how
only one
Wonka.
was Jenkins.
I love how Wonka's just like, anybody can do that. Like he
Yeah.
just shrugs it off, like this isn't weird. Uh, I do like in the Gloop song how like the whole song is like, this kid's fat and this is what happens, but then there's that one line of like he will be altered quite a bit, and they just kind of shrug over that. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What's happening to Gloop in that tube?
Hmm.
And yeah, in the book, it's pretty much explicitly stated, like, yeah, he turned into chocolate,
Hmm.
and he's just walking out of the factory like fucking eating his hand.
That's
And his
crazy.
mom's just like, please don't do that. I would be
Yeah.
so much more concerned if my fat kid turned into chocolate. She just seems to be like, oh, shit
Yeah.
happens.
Well, she was kind of fed up at that point. It was giving a Veruca Salt moment, you know what I mean? Because she encouraged that. She enabled that.
Yeah, the big point, like the big thing that like Dahl really hammers home with all of these situations is like bad parents make bad kids. And
Hmm.
that's kind of the big lesson of almost every book he's ever written is like,
Hmm.
assholes begat assholes. That's just how the world works.
Yep.
Uh, okay. Yeah. Good music in this one.
Hmm.
Where do you want to go next?
We can do best scene since I mean they go hand in hand.
Okay. Why don't you start us off?
Um, I like the scene where we're getting backstory of Wonka, and it's kind of reliving his childhood. So you see him with the huge brace apparatus around his face, and it's just like pulling his teeth open, and he looks all uncomfortable, and he's like, "I just want chocolate," and he sneaks the Halloween candy, and he's trying to like lick it off his teeth, like it plays with that child's like fascination and intrigue with candy and just like this fantastical kind of world. But then also the realities of life, like, oh, you got to brush your teeth. You're like, I don't want to brush my teeth. I just want to eat candy. I love those scenes. It was just like nice to get backstory. It was fun to see like a little Wonka. It like play if you're a child watching it, you kind of relate to it. It's just I like that.
I always question how exactly his dad moved the fucking house. Like, how did he do that? And also, how petty. Your kid's like, well, I don't want to be a dentist, and he's like, well, you'll never see me again. Like, it's
Yeah.
so weirdly petty, and he just held on to that grudge for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, following his son's progress. That's the scene that I picked.
Mhm.
Is when Wonka reunites with his dad, and
Mhm.
you see all the clippings of like Wonka factory opening, and like Willy Wonka's got a new one. Like he's been so proud of his son's success, but the stiff upper lip English pride. No one's ever gonna say they're sorry. No one wants to be the first one to admit they fucked up.
Mhm.
And but I do love when he realizes his son's back and he gives him that hug. It's so
Mhm.
awkward, but it's so sweet.
Yeah.
And Christopher Lee usually plays such monsters, so it's great to see him play just a kindly dentist who made a mistake.
Yeah.
Um, there's one moment I always love. It's so weird. I wonder if this was in the script or this was something that Depp just did. It's when they go to the chocolate room for the first time, and
Mhm.
he tells them just go.
Mhm.
There's no big song. He's just like go do something. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they all go away, but then Mr. Salt just looks at Wonka, and Wonka's just like staring him down for some reason. I always laugh at that.
That's what I love about this Wonka. It's great. Like, it's unhinged. This man is unhinged.
Yeah, it's like 70s Wonka has a clear irritation and hatred of kids, but I feel like '05 Wonka has a serious hatred of parents.
Yes.
And he just, he doesn't like the kids, but he like despises the parents.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's, we all know why. That's his own trauma. A lot of
Mhm.
projection there.
Mhm.
But yeah, when he especially Mr. Salt, he just lets him have it. Like when he just tosses his business card away. I,
It probably reminded him of his dad.
yeah, yeah.
So
His dad had a business card too. Um, I do love Veruca's comeuppance. They all kind of deserved it, but she more than anyone
favorite
deserved.
one.
Yeah, I yeah, and that nobody like. I mean, she didn't see that coming. She thought she could just grab a squirrel and put it in her pocket and take it with her for the rest of the trip.
That's what entitlement does.
Yeah, those were all
Mhm.
real squirrels.
Yeah, I remember so when it was on DVD, like DVDs back in the day, they used to have like the whole behind the scenes thing.
Yeah,
So it was talking about that and how they had to do the Oompa Loompas, and it was just that one man, and they did this whole process to make clones of him. Yeah, it was very extensive. And I think it was well done.
yeah. I mean, when the squirrels were like breaking up the walnuts, they were real. Not when they were attacking the child. That wasn't real.
Yes, no, yes, that was not real.
Yeah, no studio
No
in the
children
world is
allowed.
going to sign off on that kind of liability insurance. That's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, but that part, especially because I mean, when she went down to go get it, like Wonka closed the gate and then was fumbling with the keys the whole time. He was like, "Oh, I don't know. Look at all these keys." And then all of a sudden, when it was done, he had the right one. He knew what he was doing.
You know exactly what he was doing. I love that little moment where he like impersonates Mr. Salt's voice and he's like, I'm sorry, darling, Mr. Wonka's being unreasonable. Like, how did he do
Yeah,
that?
it's so good.
Oh. Um, Violet Beauregard's transformation's a lot more jarring and freakish in this one than it is in the 70s
Yes.
one because they could play with it a little.
Yeah.
Um, and I've heard like theories that she should have been the one who inherited the factory because she had the mind of a scientist. Like she was, testing products on herself, and she knew treats. Like she had the mind of an inventor. And what is her crime exactly? Chewing gum and being a little proud of herself. I mean, she did a lot.
I
I'd be proud of
well,
myself.
I don't even think she had a well, it's because she didn't listen to the rules. He was saying like, "Hey, it's
Yeah,
not a done product. Like we're not finished with it. It hasn't been fully developed, so we don't
yeah,
know." And then this is a reoccurring thing that happens. But she was like, "I can do it." So I don't know where the mind of a developer comes from. I think she was just trying to like win
yeah.
records. You know what I mean? Be the
That's
first one to
true.
do the thing.
Yeah, it's more just arrogance.
Yeah, she was because that was a dumb move.
Yeah, I do think that the other kids are worse. I think like Violet, I feel like you could work with. Uh, but yeah, now she's blue,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I wonder
And
what's
I
gonna
don't even
happen.
think that level of competitiveness stemmed from her. That was definitely her mom pushing it.
Oh yeah,
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
yeah,
So,
that was living vicariously, yeah, very much.
yeah. I
Uh
think she would have been on Charlie's level. She would have been chill.
Probably, yeah. Although she was kind of a bitch to Charlie that one time,
That's
where
true.
he's like, "Why don't
And it
you
was
eat a
manga.
different piece of gum?" And she's like, "Well, I'd be a loser like you." It's like it's gum.
Yeah, that's fair.
I love that they give you a little bit more of Augustus being a dick when he asks Charlie like, "Do you want some chocolate?" He's like, "Sure." He's like, "Well, then you should have brought some," and walks
Yeah,
away. Like he's already fat.
it's
He's got to be an asshole too.
yeah, right. And it's all over his face, like, ugh.
He's literally walking into a chocolate factory, eating a chocolate bar. Like his pockets are stuffed with fucking chocolate bars.
Mm, 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 mm.
Dude, when he's just like going to town in the chocolate room, just like just eating everything. I thought they were gonna change it up and just have him like have a heart attack in there.
Yeah, how could he not throw up? At some point, your body just can't take it anymore.
No,
It
I
can't.
mean all the chocolate he ate that day before he got there, first of all, and
Right.
then the cream puffs and all the grass he's like shoving into his face, and the handfuls of liquid chocolate.
Yeah,
Jesus, yeah. How do you not throw up after all that? God.
I
When I
couldn't
was a
either.
kid, there was like an orange soda I really liked. If I drank that too fast, I would throw up.
Yeah,
This
ooh.
kid is just, you know, double fisting grass.
Just the dirt and all, just
Yeah, Jesus.
Mm.
Uh, um, any other scenes you want to shout out?
Mm, I think I enjoy the scene where, it was pretty clever how they did this, where I think Wonka wanted to talk to Charlie and ask him like, "Hey, why do you care about your family so much?" And
Mhm.
when he tried to disguise himself with just some random guy getting his shoe shined. I just like the whole interaction, and it just the build up to it was nice because it was like him having his Grinch moment. Like his heart was growing 2 sizes too big, and he was realizing, wow, this does matter. Like let me not be an asshole and also help because family does mean something, even if my childhood wasn't that great. So
Yeah,
I
that's a
enjoyed that.
sweet, it's a sweet moment.
Hmm.
Another sweet moment I really like is after Charlie finds the ticket and he goes home and they're all excited and he's like, "We're not gonna go. We need to sell this." And Grandpa George is like, "All right, come here. Look, there's always gonna be more money. There's never gonna be another experience like this. You need to do this."
Yeah.
It does, I love that. I love my favorite thing about this movie is that the other grandparents got something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get to be full-fledged characters in this one,
Hmm.
especially Grandpa George, just constantly commenting on the on the kids. It's like I told you it'd be a porker.
Yeah.
I love that. My favorite one was when the Mike TV interview where he's like, I hate chocolate. He's like, well, it's a good thing you're going to a chocolate factory. You're ungrateful little, and then Charlie's dad covers his
Yeah.
ears.
Mhm.
Uh, let's do performance.
Mhm.
Who, in your opinion, wins the movie?
I mean, I don't do I have to I think Johnny does. I think he does a great job.
I don't. I don't even have him written down.
What? Okay, well, let's aside from him, let's go through the list. Um, who do I think did a really good job on this? I think Freddie Highmore did good playing Charlie.
Yeah, he's a
And
good
it's so
Charlie.
crazy. Mhm.
Go ahead.
It's just so crazy because like he would later go on to become a Norman Bates. So so that's hilarious. So that psycho bit in Mike TV's song was fitting.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think he did great. I think he really played into the emotional side of things. I think he was just the kind, docile, humble kid that you're
Yeah.
rooting for.
He's
Mhm.
almost too innocent in this one. It's like he's a fucking angel. I liked that Charlie in the 70s one had a little bit of a mischievous side. He was,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, yeah, I'm happy to be here, but also, I'm gonna steal some fizzy lifting drinks.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Charlie in this one is this is like saintly little will do anything for his family kid, which counterbalances Wonka's hatred of families.
Mhm.
And they have good chemistry together, Depp and Highmore, and they had previously worked together on the film Finding Neverland, which is why
Mm.
they had good chemistry in that. So Burton brought him on this one too.
Mhm.
Um, I gave it to Deep Roy, who plays the Oompa Loompas,
Yeah.
because he's playing like 500 different characters, all distinct, or most of them distinct. They're all doing something different. Uh, and he apparently like his salary went up because they realized like he was playing additional characters, so it jumped to like $1 million, and he was very happy with that. Um,
Wow.
my favorite Oompa Loompa of the whole franchise is Hugh Grant in the new one because I love that he did that. Just
Mhm.
you cast Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa who is like vengeful and devoted to finding Wonka no matter what. Like I loved that. Uh all right, line. Let's talk dialogue. There's some great dialogue moments in this one.
Mhm.
Why don't you start us off?
So this is why I love this Johnny Depp because he would say the most wildest things. So he says everything. So this is when they're in the chocolate room in the beginning, and he goes, "Everything in this room is eatable. Even I'm eatable, but that's called cannibalism, my dear children, and is in fact frowned upon in most societies." I loved that line.
Yeah, that was a cute one. I like that one too. Um, One of my favorites is right when they get to the factory and they walk in and Gloop goes, "Don't you want to know our names?" And Wonka just goes, "Can't imagine how it would matter," and just keeps walking. Like he doesn't care.
I love it.
Ah, um, another one. I love his ongoing battle with Mike TV. Like from the start, he hates this kid because he didn't do it the right way. He cracked the like like the production code and figured out where to find a candy bar. He didn't even like chocolate.
Yeah.
And every time he says anything, he like calls him out on being a mumbler. And my favorite one is when he says, "Once again, you really shouldn't mumble because it's kind of starting to bum me out."
Yeah.
He just keeps going after this kid.
I love that one. Yeah, he's the king of shade over here. There was one he was talking about Augustus when the mom was like, "Oh, what's gonna happen? Like, is he gonna get sucked into the thing and then be transported all around the world in like little candy bars?" And he's like, "Could you imagine Augustus flavored chocolate goop? Like, ew, no one would buy it." And his mom is like, "All right." I love it.
I like how that scene plays out in the original one a little better when like he's like the mom's like, he'll be made into fudge in 5 seconds, and Wonka's like, that's absurd, that's unthinkable. She's like, why? It's like, because that pipe doesn't go to the marshmallow room, it goes to the fudge room or something like that. Like yeah, I love his complete disdain for gloop. um
Mhm.
I like when they first go in, and they're all like, the kids are all introducing themselves to Wonka despite the fact that he said like, I don't care. And Gloop just goes right in his face and goes, I love your chocolate. And Wonka looks down and he says, I can see that.
Wow,
I
that's hilarious.
love a
You
good
know,
fat joke. I
as
really do.
you're as you were going through the lines that you just chose, I just thought, and I know there's not 7 of them, but it made me wonder if there's a concept where these kids represent some of the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah, 100%. I wrote a paper on that in college.
Mhm.
I wrote
Mhm.
compared to Dante's Inferno. Like I
Mhm.
argued that like Willy Wonka is Virgil, the poet,
Mhm.
guiding Charlie, who's supposed to be Dante, through the seven circles of hell, which are the factory. And some of the ones are obvious, like Gloop is gluttony, Veruca
Yeah.
Salt is greed, and
Mhm.
Violet's pride. Mike TV is wrath. I
Mhm.
argue the Grandpa Joe was like lust, but like a lust for life kind of lust.
Oh, interesting.
And like the Oompa Loompas are like the cherubs of purgatory or something. Like I
Mm.
went deep on that shit, and I did really well in that paper. So like I've looked into
Yeah.
that theory a lot.
Mhm.
It's cool.
Yeah, I can see it coming alive, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Dahl being a learned man, a writer, I'm sure there's no way that was an accident.
Mhm.
Um I, I like this one line towards the end when Wonka meets the grandparents, and Grandma Georgina, the one who's kind of, you know, a little dealing with dementia, just says, "You smell like peanuts. I love peanuts." And Wonka goes, "Oh, thank you. You smell like old people and, and soap."
Oh my god.
Any other lines you want to shout? That's all I've got.
Um, it kinda ties back to what we were talking about a little earlier, where where he was, when, Charlie was saying, like, how do the Oompa Loompas know Augustus's name to be able to put in the song? And Willy Wonka says, "Just say a word, any word." And Violet gives chewing gum, and he goes like, "Chewing gum is really gross. Chewing gum I hate the most." See? I love that. It's fun, the things that he would say kinda on the fly. It's funny.
Yeah, I like a
I
lot.
love this movie.
I can tell. Depp Depp made it his mission also to he wanted to include as many lines from the book as he could. And
Mhm.
Wonka in the book is like a hyper sarcastic man child. Like if you combine Wilder and you combine Depp and you get book Wonka. So
Mm.
like a lot of stuff like when Wonka gets corrected by Veruca about talking about the waterfall again, and he
Mhm.
goes after them, he's like, "Well, you're all quite short, aren't you?" Like that's book Wonka right there.
Mhm.
So
That's some
yeah.
real British humor.
Oh yeah, big time. Uh, well, let's take a look at what the good people over at Letterboxd have to say on our final
Uh-oh.
segment. What's in the box?
What's in the fucking box? Give me the gun.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory has a 3.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Not bad. I think that over the years, people have warmed up to this one, I think. But not everybody. Yeah.
No.
Uh, this first one's from Abby. Imagine being so fucking extra that you move your entire house to a faraway location to avoid your son. 5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah. How the hell who do you hire to do that? Because you can't do that yourself. You got to cut this house out of a fucking line of houses and
Yeah.
move it to like the middle of nowhere, England. And
Put it on the wheels.
yeah, I don't know what moving company you hire for that shit. This one's from Jake Rosenberg. I think I'd had enough when Willy Wonka offered Mike TV a high five. Quote, slide me some skin, soul brother. Also, Oompa Loompas invented Wakanda Forever. 2 stars. Yeah, remember that? The Oompa Loompas did it first.
Oh my God.
Wonkanda Forever.
No. Blasphemous.
This one's from Rosie Hart. My notes on the kids. Charlie, so sweet, but when he made the grandpa sad, I thought I might die. Veruca, kind of an icon, but I'd shoot her if I got the chance.
Fair.
Violet, little asshole, but so badass. Augustus, I nearly vomited, also when he got stuck in the tube. Funny face. Mike TV. I know he's a little bitch, but he's the funniest of them all.
He's a little bit.
5 stars.
Wow.
And this last one's from Jordan Beaumont Anderson. So, Willy Wonka closes his factory, which collapses the local economy and replaces his employees with actual slaves. He creates a contest which functions purely as a marketing gimmick to line his pockets with additional billions. This entire time, he continues to specifically target children with his product, locking many of them into a lifelong struggle with binge eating and diabetes. He summons several families to an industrial workplace filled with OSHA violations, which directly leads to the injury of multiple children. Finally, like any predator, Wonka tries to recruit a young boy into his world of capitalist decadence. Willy Wonka is a monster. 1 star.
Wow.
When you put it like that, it's hard to argue with it.
The rabbit hole that will make me go through now. Wow.
Yeah, he's kind of a bad person, Wonka. He's a pretty monstrous dude.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, I feel like that's fair across the board with all of them.
Yeah, pretty much. People in a Roald Dahl story are all just dealing with their own bullshit. But yeah, I do love the idea that the Oompa Loompas are slaves. Let's be honest about this. Like, they're getting paid in cocoa beans, and they're doing everything. Wonka's not making shit. The Oompa Loompas are making this candy.
Even in therapy.
Yeah, he's got an admin office. Why does he have an admin office? Who is he? What meetings are being set here? He doesn't work with anybody.
And they don't speak the language, right?
No, they communicate in like armpit farts and like that, that tongue noise.
Yeah. I love it. I don't know. It's crazy. It's unhinged. Like I said earlier, I know he has DID, but it works, and I love it. It's great.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
Hello. I love it. That was the Mr. Rogers influence right there.
Oh boy! All right. Yeah,
I will say that line to people in my life.
Really? I often quote. I say a lot of things from the original movie, like "I'm sorry, all questions must be submitted in writing." And
Yeah.
things like that, and like if you have any questions, dial information. Thank you for calling. Things like that. Stuff. Help, police, murder. I love sarcastic. I don't give a fuck Wonka. That's my favorite kind of Wonka. I liked the new one with Chalamet, but I thought he was too optimistic. He was too hopeful about the future. The Willy Wonka I know give a fuck about the future. He's done with everything. He doesn't care. He's here to find someone to take over this shit for him so he can leave and just, go to space and fight for Mrs. Knids.
Yeah. Yeah, I still haven't seen the Timothy Chalamet. Apparently his name is Timothée.
Oh yeah, it's Timothée Chalamet, but since I'm not, fucking Montel Jordan, I'm not saying that.
Not Montel Jordan.
Yeah. It's Timothy. Or it's Timothy or it's Tim. You cannot be Timothée. I'm not doing that.
Oh wow.
I'm not playing his game. I'm not doing this.
You can't help that he's French. Like
He is not French.
Yeah, he is. Is he not?
We're gonna find out. Timothy Chalamet. Okay, American and French actor. My mistake. But he's from New York. He's got French ancestry. He's as French as I am Peruvian.
No, I thought he actually like lived or like went to school in France or something like that.
Regardless, I'm not calling him Timothée.
Oh my god. Okay.
I'm not doing it. And I really liked Wonka too. I thought he was a good choice. I thought he did well. I'm looking forward to Dune. I think he's a great actor, but I'm not calling him Timothée.
Oh.
This was fun. I enjoyed this. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you like what we do, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Filmgazm Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgazm@gmail.com, or of course, send us a message through Facebook, Instagram, or X. Check out our Letterboxd accounts for daily reviews. You can search for me at Connor95, and in my friends list, you can find the rest of the team. Check out the website, filmgazm.com, where I have a link to that Letterboxd if you want to read my reviews. You can also find articles, trailers of upcoming films, and every episode of our show. If you'd like to become a monthly donor to Filmgazm Productions, feel free to click on the link in the episode description. From there, click on Support This Podcast. You can choose to donate $1 a month, $5 a month, or $10 a month. All donations go right back into the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks to the entire Filmgazm team for their contributions to the show. Thanks to Cooley Cal for our awesome theme music. And thanks to you for checking out the show. Next Wednesday is Valentine's Day, so we wanted to spotlight one of the greatest love stories ever told. When the reluctant Princess Buttercup is forced to marry the sadistic Prince Humperdinck, her one true love, Wesley, plans to save her and live happily ever after. But the actions of an evil count separate them possibly for good, and their only hope is a vengeful Spaniard and a kind-hearted giant. Next week, it's the 1987 fantasy classic, The Princess Bride. Another lifelong favorite of mine, one I'm very excited to discuss. Have you seen The Princess Bride?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic movie. I already read the book to prep, and it's so in line. Like it's such a great adaptation. It's the same writer as the book and the screenplay, so like the tone is perfect. I'm really excited for next week. Until then, cherish your family, and once again, have a candy bar. Take it easy, keep watching movies, and we'll see you next time.